Hey guys, it's Jill and welcome back to my booktube channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about every single book that I read in 2024. I can't believe it's already time for me to do a yearly reading wrap up, and it's only the 26th today, Boxing Day, so I actually have a few more days that I could technically read, but I don't think I'm going to have time before the 31st, so that's why I'm going to be filming this now. And unfortunately, I feel like this year wasn't the best reading year for me, and there were many books that I didn't enjoy and only very few that I did really like, but we'll get into that. And I'm not going to go over the plot or anything really of these books, just kind of brief overviews and thoughts on them and my ratings too. I just have my Goodreads up on my computer here, and I'm going to start from January. So on January 7th is when I read Ruthless Vows. This was the second book of the Letters of Enchantment series by Rebecca Ross, and I loved Divine Rivals. It was a 5-star. I thought it was so cute, and the romance was just perfect in my opinion. So this one was definitely a letdown, and I actually have a reading vlog up on my channel of this one, but overall I felt like this was very focused on things that I didn't care about, and I felt like I was just craving that romance between the two main characters that I did not get in this one, unfortunately. So I did rate this one 3.5 stars. And then after that, I read House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas, and this one I was really looking forward to. And I remember afterwards I finished it and I was like, I think this is like a 3.5 stars. But for days and days after, I kept thinking about it, and I loved the friendship aspect, so I bumped that up to 4 stars, and I would definitely recommend this one. The next book I read was a 5-star, and this is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, and this was just so cute. I read this mid-January, and there are still scenes from this that I think of like on a weekly basis, so I really loved this one. It was so magical, and the relationship between the two main characters was just very endearing and swoon-worthy, I would say. After that, I read The Red String Theory by Lauren Kung Jessen, and I unfortunately was disappointed with this one. I gave the first book of this kind of interconnected romance series a 5 stars, but now kind of thinking back to that, I'm unsure if I would still give that 5 stars if I reread that one. But I was really looking forward to this next book from her. This is her second book, I believe. But I found when I was reading this one, I felt like the dialogue was a little bit cliche, which kind of turned me off of it, so I did end up giving it 3 stars. But after that, I read Iron Flame, which was the second book by Rebecca Yarros of the first book, Fourth Wing, of course. And I also gave this one 3 stars. Let's see, 3... Oh, I gave it 4 stars? Okay, I thought I gave it 3, but now thinking back to it, I could not tell you anything literally at all that happened in that book, and I felt like it was pretty forgettable, and I don't really think I liked the romance, like the direction the romance was going in. It felt a little bit repetitive in terms of the issues within their relationship, and then I also felt like they didn't necessarily communicate the greatest, so I feel like I might put that back down to like maybe a 3.5, 3 stars. Anyways, after that, I read the Improbable Meet Cute series, and this was a bunch of authors that went together to make these little short stories for Valentine's Day, I believe. And the first one that I read was The Exception to the Rule. This one was by Christina Lauren, and I gave this one 3 stars. And after that, I read Worst Wingman Ever, and this one was by Abby Jimenez. I also gave this 3 stars. Then I read Rosie and the Dreamboat. This is by Sally Thorne, and I don't believe I've read any other books by Sally Thorne, like her full-length novels, but I gave this one a 2 stars. I just didn't really like the whole premise. I thought it was a little too silly, and I kind of had to suspend my disbelief a little too much for that one. But then I read With Any Luck by Ashley Poston. This one was 3 stars. Drop Cover and Hold On by Jasmine Guillory. This one was also 3 stars, and then the last one of this little series was Royal Valentine by Soraya Wilson, and I gave that one 2 stars. I just don't really like the kind of royal trope, so that was probably why that one wasn't very high. With those short stories though, I would still be open to read other books by the authors, especially by the ones that I didn't rate super highly for the short stories, because since they were only 60 to 80-ish pages each, I feel like that wasn't exactly a fair test to see if I liked them as an author, so I would definitely be open to still reading books by them. But moving along, I read Bride Afterwards, and that was by Ali Hazelwood. This was her paranormal romance debut, and this was a little weird, but I did like it. I rated it 3 stars, and I feel like she has the potential to write really good paranormal romance, but I don't know if she is going to continue with that, because I know her release in 2025. They're both kind of still in that contemporary romance realm. So I will keep my eyes peeled though in the future if she continues with the paranormal side of writing. And then I read the second Crescent City book, which is of course House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J Maas. This one I gave it a 3.5 star, and I remember reading this, I felt like it was just so long and I just didn't get super into it, which was really disappointing because I heard that House of Sky and Breath was even better than the first of that series. So I still have the third book to read of that, so I will definitely do that in 2025. And the next book, unfortunately, was another fantasy romance, but I wasn't the hugest fan of either. I gave it 3 stars. This is The Serpent of the Wings and Night by Carissa Broadbent, and I remember being so excited about this because a lot of people recommended it, especially if you like ACOTAR or just fantasy romance in general or were new to fantasy romance. But this one was just not very memorable for me, and I was just not that connected to the characters, so I didn't even end up reading the second book to that, and I don't even really feel too inclined to do that this year even. So I feel like that just might not be the series for me, which is okay, but yeah, I didn't love that one. So after that though, I read a good romance. This was called Off the Beaten Path. This is by Madison Wright, and I gave it 4 stars. It was a simple, cute, kind of small town, if I'm remembering correctly, and just what I needed at that point. So after that, I read Happily Never After. Happily Never After. This was by Lynn Painter, her new release of 2024. This was super silly and kind of again, had to suspend your disbelief a little bit for this one, and I ended up giving it 3 stars. I've read quite a few books by Lynn Painter, and I'm pretty sure I read another this year as well, but I wouldn't necessarily say I'm the biggest fan of her writing, but generally they're pretty easy reads and nice and lighthearted, so I still continue to pick them up. And then after that, I read a DNF actually. This was When Life Gives You Lemons. This is by Noor Sasha, and I did not like the guy in this one. I'm pretty sure that I thought he was just way too self-centered and also focused on like the physical attributes of the female main character, which I was just not into from the start. So I DNF'd that one pretty quickly. And then after that, I read Crown of Midnight by Sarah J Maas. This was the second book of Throne of Glass, and actually third book for me because I read The Assassin's Blade first. And this one I gave 4.5 stars. I apparently really liked this one, but now that I've read the whole series, I can't really remember exactly what happens in each book, but I did finish off the series this year, which I was really happy about. After that though, I read some duds. Actually, I guess this first one isn't too bad. This was Powerless by Elsie Silver. I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was fine, but just nothing special. But after that, I read Reckless, and I did not like this one. I gave it 2 stars. I feel like Elsie Silver, her books are just very much focused on the spicy aspects of the characters' relationships, which I feel like aren't exactly emotional connections that go along with that, which is fine, but I definitely prefer my romances to have a strong emotional connection as well, which I just felt like they didn't do that. So after that, I read Can I Steal You for a Second by Jodie McAllister. This one was also a DNF, which was extremely disappointing because I was really excited for this one. I'm pretty sure it was Chandler Ainsley that suggested this one and said it was great, but it just wasn't for me. I can't remember why. I feel like the whole bachelor kind of copycat situation was just boring to me, or I can't even remember because as soon as I finished that, I was just like, out of my mind. So after that, I read Too Sweet. This is by Monroe Wild Rose. This is a YA vampire high school romance, and I just felt like I was not the target audience for this at all, so I ended up giving this one 2 stars. But then I read an amazing book, and this was Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, and I gave this one 4.5 stars. Probably one of my favorite romances of 2024, so I would highly recommend this one, and I also have a reading vlog of this one on my channel as well if you want to check it out. And then it turns out for a third time I tried Elsie Silver, and this time I read Heartless, and I gave it 2 stars. So I felt like at that point that I realized I don't really like her writing style or her storytelling, so I've kind of paused with reading her books after that, I'm pretty sure. And then I read Air of Fire. This is by Sarah J Maas. This was the 4th book in the way that I read it, at least, of the Throne of Glass series. I gave this one 3.5 stars, and I'm pretty sure that was because I felt like this was kind of a filler book. After Heir of Fire, I read the 2 Housemaid books. The Housemaid, of course, the first one. These are by Frida McFadden, and then the second one, The Housemaid's Secret. So for The Housemaid, I actually DNF'd it for a little bit because it was really bothering me the way that the housemaid was being treated by the wife. So I DNF'd it because I just was like, I don't want to read about this. And then I started the second one without finishing the first. So the second Housemaid book I rated 3 stars. I thought it was decent, and then I went back to the first one and I rated it 2 stars. So it wasn't my favorite, and later in the year she released the third book, which I also read too, so I'll get to that later. And then I went into the Kindred's Curse saga. So this was Spark of the Everflame and then Glow of the Everflame. These are by Penn Cole. And for the first book, I gave it 3 stars. And then, the second book, I also gave 3 stars. So these were fantasy romances. They were okay. I don't know if I read the third one. I think in my head I was waiting for the fourth one to come out before I read the third one so I could finish them together. But I'm pretty sure the fourth one still isn't out, so I guess I will still wait for that. And after that, I read If You Could See the Sun by Anne Liang. And this is the second or third book that I read by her. This one was okay. I rated it 3 stars. This one has a little bit of magical realism in it. But I remember feeling like the chain of events that happened was just kind of blown out of proportion near the end especially. So that's why I kind of knocked it down from 4 to 3 when I was reading that. And then after that, I read Ties That Tether. This is by Jane Igaro, and I rated this one 3.5 stars, which was a contemporary romance, I believe. And after that, I read A Funny Story by Emily Henry. This was a 3.5 star, which I was a little disappointed with this one because I rated Happy Place 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed that one, so I thought I would like Funny Story a lot more than I did, but I was just not a huge fan of the main male character. I thought he was too obsessed with his ex, and it was just bothering me the whole time. So that's why I didn't really love that one, but it was still good, and I would still recommend it. But it won the Best Romance, I'm pretty sure, for Goodreads Awards. So I guess a lot of people enjoyed it too. And then after, I tried Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher, and I DNF'd this one 23% of the way through. But this was my first Lauren Asher book, I believe, that I've tried, so I'm willing to give her another shot. But unfortunately, I was just not a huge fan of the one I picked up. But I'm pretty sure the third Lakefront Billionaire book is coming out in 2025. So since they're all interconnected, then maybe I'll pick that one up and try, but I'm not going to like run to go get it. Next here we have Queen of Shadows by Sarah J Maas, and this one I gave 4 stars. And then I read a 2.5 star. This was To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo, which was very disappointing to me. This was a YA kind of fantasy romance, paranormal, something of the sort, and yeah, it just was not doing it for me. But it was supposed to be a Little Mermaid retelling, so I was really looking forward to it, but let down, unfortunately. And then I read Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. This one, thinking back, I think I liked it better than I originally did. I gave it 3 stars, but I feel like now I might give it like a 3.5 star, something around there. I don't know, I'm kind of conflicted because like many people say, it is very spice focused, so I definitely did not love that, but I feel like the issues that the main characters had, everything kind of made sense. So I don't know, I guess I can just leave it at 3 stars for now. Oh, and this is when I read the third Housemaid book. This is The Housemaid is Watching by Frida McFadden, and I gave this one 3 stars. And then I listened to this next one. This was This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune, and I feel like I just am not a Carly Fortune fan overall. Her other book, which was her second release, I didn't read her first release, but I read that one last summer, and I gave that one, or not last summer, not the summer that just passed, like 2 summers ago, I guess, and I gave that one 2 stars, I'm pretty sure. And this one I gave 2 stars, so I definitely have realized that I don't think she is the author for me, and I won't be picking up the other book that's coming out this upcoming year. After that, I read Autobiography. This was by Christina Lauren, and I gave this one 3 stars. I don't really remember what happened exactly in it, but it must have been okay. And then I read A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. I was so excited for this one. I thought the cover was beautiful, and I got it for Christmas maybe last year. I can't remember exactly, but unfortunately it just was not good and I rated it 2 stars. And next here we have another 2-star, which is probably one of my most unpopular opinions of this one, but this was Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan, and I just did not like the main male character in this one. I actually have a little review of this one. I said I wasn't a fan of Josiah and how he treated Yasmin, and to me it seemed like their connection was mostly physical, which is fine, but it's just not what I was hoping for. And yeah, I didn't like this one, and it's kind of sad because so many people love this one and I wanted to love it too, but I just could not stand him. So after that, I read an amazing book though. This was The Woman by Kristen Hanna. This was her new release of 2024, I'm pretty sure, and I gave it 5 stars, no notes. It was perfect. I would highly recommend it, and I think it also won an award for the Goodreads Awards for 2024. After that though, I have another DNF. This one I actually read quite a bit of it and DNF'd it at 65%, but this was Scarlet Princess by Robin D. Mal, and I just thought it was boring, so yeah, I stopped reading it. And then I listened to the Happy Ever After playlist by Abby Jimenez, and I gave this one 4 stars. I thought it was really cute, and it was just kind of your classic Abby Jimenez feel-good romance. So I'm definitely a fan of her writing, and I'm so excited for her new release for 2025. I feel like it's going to be so amazing, so I will definitely be running to the store as soon as that comes out. And then I read another very anticipated book for 2024. This was A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston, and I ended up giving it 3 stars, which was disappointing, but I just felt like there was kind of no plot with this one. And then I have another DNF, and that was Before I Fall by Lauren Oliver. And this is so crazy because I absolutely love the movie Before I Fall, and I don't know exactly what it is about that movie. I think it might just be really nostalgic because I've watched it so many times with one of my good friends, but I just love that movie so much. I could rewatch it time and time again. But the book, the main character was just so insufferable, and she was so self-centered that I had to put that down very quickly because it was bothering me, to say the least. And then I read Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This was very highly anticipated in general. I was kind of so about this because Powerless was good, but I wouldn't say it was great. And Reckless I did not like. I gave it 2 stars. I thought there was barely anything going on, and the romance was just so blah to me, so 2 stars for that one. And then I read The Problem with Players. This is by Brittany C. Cherry, and I gave this a 3.5 stars, and it was a pretty good contemporary romance involving sports. And then I read What Lies Between Us by John Mars, and I gave this one 3 stars. This was a thriller, and I don't even remember exactly what happened in that one at all. After that, I tried to read Quicksilver, which was such a highly praised fantasy romance on TikTok specifically, and I had to soft DNF this one. I just didn't care, and the main male character was so weird, so soft DNF, but I think it might be a hard DNF because I do not picture myself going back to this. But I did hear that it's going to be turned into a movie or a TV series. We'll see how that is. I might watch that in the future. I read a really bad romance on my Kindle. This was called The Cottage on Strawberry Sands by Holly Martin, and it was just so bad. Like, I don't even want to get into it, but I would not recommend that one, unfortunately. And then I read another book on my Kindle, another romance, to kind of hopefully feel better after reading that bad one. It was called 6 Summers to Fall by C.W. Farnsworth, and I gave it 2 stars, so wasn't a fan of that one as well. But after that, I read Daydream by Hannah Grace, and I also did a reading vlog on this one. I gave it 3.5 stars. I liked both of the main characters enough, and I would definitely pick up another book by Hannah Grace. Okay, after I read Empire of Storms and then Tower of Dawn, this was the tandem read for the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas, and I rated both of them 4 stars. The tandem read was so much fun to do, and I also have a vlog on that if you are interested in watching that. And after that though, I read not a great one, and it was Betting on You by Lynn Painter. I gave it 2.5 stars, which was kind of sad because I was looking forward to this. I bought it a while ago. It was kind of hanging out on my to be read cart, and then once I picked it up, I was like, oh, this is not that good. But after that, I read Solitaire by Alice Oseman, and I gave this one 3 stars. And then I have another DNF. This one I went to 61%. That was A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross, which is the same author as Divine Rivals and then Ruthless Vows. But yeah, this one was just not great. So this is going into the fall time now. We have the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, which everyone was talking about online. This is by Lori Gilmore, and I gave it 2 stars. I thought it was just so boring and not for me. So after that though, I read a great book, and that was The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, and I gave this one 5 stars. I'm still trying to think of whether I liked The Woman or The Nightingale better, and I cannot even decide. They're both amazing books, and I got another Kristen Hanna book for Christmas, so I'm really excited to get into that one. And I have another Kristen Hanna book back home on my shelf, so I have a little lineup of her books to read in the coming months. So then I read Heartless Hunter. This was a young adult fantasy romance by Kristen Cicerelli. This was a 3.5 star for me. I thought it was pretty good, and the ending was very interesting, so I'm looking forward to that sequel, which is coming out in 2025. So I feel like that one will be very good. And then I read The Love of My Afterlife. This was by Christy Greenwood, and I gave it 3 stars. This one was kind of silly and pretty predictable, but I would still recommend it to people. After that, I read The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. This was a 3 star, which I give pretty much all of her books 3 stars. And after I tried XOXO, or I didn't try, I finished this one. This is by Axio, and I gave it a 3.5 star. And after I read Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn, this was a 4-star book for me. I thought it was very interesting, but extremely dark. So if you're interested in reading this, definitely look up the trigger warnings, because there are a lot of very intense things that happen in it. But I did watch the series before reading the book, so I kind of knew what was going on and what I was getting myself into, and I really enjoyed both the book and the show, so I would recommend it. And then I read The Wraith King. This was by Juliet Cross. I gave it 3 stars. It was pretty weird, honestly, but not bad. So after that, we're getting to the final ones here. I got into Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J Maas, the final book of the Throne of Glass series, which I was very sad to be finishing because throughout the year I really enjoyed reading. And this one was pretty disappointing, actually. I gave it 3.5 stars. So it was still good, but it was just not that kind of crazy ending that I was hoping for and wishing for it, I guess. And it was of course just so long, so maybe that kind of played into it too, because I might have got a little bit bored, I would say, into the kind of middle and end of that. And then I read Off the Deep End by Lucinda Berry. I give this one a 1 star. I think this is like the only 1 star I gave all year, but this was a thriller and it was just bad. Just bad. So don't read that one. And then after that, I tried another kind of thriller. This was None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I gave this one 2.5 stars. I also was not really a huge fan of this one because it was repetitive and I got bored. So yeah, 2.5 stars. And then lastly, I read Holiday Romance. This is by Catherine Walsh. I gave this a 3.5 stars, which I thought was pretty good considering it was a Christmas book, because usually they're kind of not the best in my opinion. So I liked that one and I would definitely recommend it. Probably not now because it's not Christmas anymore, but for next year, if you're wanting a good Christmas recommendation, I would definitely give that one a shot. And then I also wanted to go into my kind of stats of the year on Goodreads. Alright, so I've pulled up my year in books on Goodreads. I read 27,003 pages. I read 67 books, and also I realized that I have some DNFs included in my total count. I don't really care about my count in general. Like, personally, I'm not really trying to reach a certain goal. I really just wanted to read good books this year, which turns out didn't really happen, but I don't really care that some of those are DNFs, even though it says I read them. And I actually have a lot of DNFs that I've read, like maybe a few chapters or even like a chapter, a few pages even, that I don't include. But I know some I did include, so hopefully that's not too bothersome for anyone that they were included in my final count. But the shortest book that I read this year was 40 pages. This was the novella Drop, Cover, and Hold On. And then the longest book, of course, was Kingdom of Ash. It was 984 pages, so basically 1,000 pages. The average book length that I read was 403 pages. The most shelved book I read was The Nightingale, and then the least shelved book I read was Too Sweet. That was that vampire high school romance. And then my average rating, this is not even good. My average rating was a 2.9 star, which is really sad, I feel like, and I'm really hoping for 2025 I'll have a much higher average reading score. And I kind of touched on that at the start, but I just did not have that good of a reading year, I feel like, and a lot of the books I read were kind of meh, and I only had 3 5-stars. I'm pretty sure I'm counting correctly. The highest rated book I read was Kingdom of Ash, and my first review, oh wait, no, that's boring. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's all. And in terms of my 2024 reading challenge, I put my reading goal as 60 books for 2024, just because I felt like that was pretty attainable based off of what I read in 2023. So I'll probably do the same for 2025, honestly, because again, I'm not trying to really compete to read like a bunch of books. I just want to read quality, good books. So I read 67 though out of 60 books for 2024, so I feel like that was pretty good. That is going to be it for this video though. If you've read any of the books mentioned, please let me know your thoughts on them in a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, give this video a like. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in a new video next week. Bye!